Ugenya and Embakasi South by-elections, whatever happened, happened. And ODM lost in those two by-elections. And they had a candidate in Wajir, but that candidate withdrew. Or is it the candidate was prevailed upon to withdraw?
Or was
the candidate withdrawn? So who is telling the truth? On one hand, Linus, the candidate himself, Professor Mohammed Elmi, says it was his decision as a result of consultations with the community and his clan. On the other hand, Jubilee Party is saying in the spirit of handshake,
right,
and in returning a favor to ODM, we decided to, the ODM decided to withdraw their candidate. So who is telling the truth?
Again, just like the phone calls, we do not know. But there is something I would like to say about the totality of those by-elections, and even going to Ugenya and Embakasi. In William Ruto, ODM created a scarecrow. And they went to the people there and told them, if you're voting for David Ochieng, you're voting for William Ruto. In the US, Donald Trump created a scarecrow in Nancy Pelosi. In the congressional races, he was saying a vote for the Democrats will be making Nancy Pelosi the Speaker of the House. Now, what happened? The Democrats regained the House, and actually Nancy Pelosi is the
Speaker.
The Speaker. Now, ODM must eat this. The scarecrow won. Period.
Hold on. I want to introduce Jamila here for obvious reasons, for very obvious reasons.
Here we go.
The clan factor in northeastern politics. How critical is it? Is it about the party or the clan?
Oh, yeah, the clan is very important in Northeast. I don't come from that part of the country.
You have an idea?
I have an idea of what happens. And clan is very important. In fact, even if you look at it, even crosses the border into Somalia. One of the main reasons why the war in Somalia happened was because of these clan issues. And it keeps repeating itself even in our country, in that wazee wakisema tunapatia mtu fulani kutoka clan fulani mnampatia. And even you yourself, when you see candidates wamesimama pamoja na unasema huyu ni clan yangu, utampa yeye kura. But then now the instant is where watu wawili kutoka clan moja wamesimama, hiyo kura unaigawanya. So the issue unaambiwa wewe simama, mwachie mwenzako, alafu ile wakati mwingine will give you something. So it is a factor. Let's not deny it. But there are also now these other dynamics in terms of one candidate feeling that hatapata support, because let's remind our viewers that we don't have only one candidate in this by-election. I think there are 5, if I'm not mistaken.
2 more have withdrawn.
2 more have withdrawn. So we have how many left now? 3.
At least 2 now.
2 and 3. And remember, Kolosh, the Jubilee candidate, actually is the guy who had won. Then
on an ODM ticket.
On an ODM ticket. Remember, he moved to Jubilee recently, and then election petition ikapelekwa mahakamani, ndo akapoteza kesi, na sasa that's why we have the by-election. But other than, I was telling you how important the clan dynamics are, but still, chama pia ni muhimu in terms of the fact that Jubilee is actually popular in Wajir, because it was one of the counties, I'm not mistaken, that actually elected it elected ODM members of parliament during the last election. I mean, you have to remind me of that.
Jubilee has a substantial number of MPs.
They have since gained some ground with the election that came. But this is something that happened with this, and probably I'll speak about Ugenya and Embakasi later. But with regard to what happened about Wajir, remember the day that Elmi was pulling out or being pulled out, whatever was happening. Aden Duale, the majority leader in the National Assembly, had a tweet basically gloating over that whole affair and saying ODM is on a free fall, that they've lost Ugenya and they've lost Embakasi.
It will be a hat-trick of losses.
He actually said this. Let me quote it for you, Joe, if you don't mind. He said it is free fall for ODM. They lost in Ugenya and Embakasi South. Now they have conceded early defeat in Wajir West. The hustler influence is real.
Is real. The hustler influence is real. And it is even more instructive that the following day, none other than the Secretary General of Jubilee, Raphael Tuju, who these days doesn't speak until you get the sense that he's been told to speak, went for this press conference and found it necessary to do 2 things. One, to thank ODM profusely for having agreed to leave this, to withdraw from this seat in favor of Jubilee. And secondly, to emphasize categorically that this was after what he called high-level consultations between the former Prime Minister and the President. Now, I saw that from an interesting perspective, because here was a majority leader who also belongs to the same party, attributing this to some hustler effect and that sort of thing, and sort of saying, well, you know, this is ODM sensing defeat and that sort of thing. And the following day, the Secretary General of the party coming out to emphasize. So it seems to me that either there was a complaint from ODM, or the president or whoever within Jubilee thought that it was important for them to sort of reassure ODM and, in a sense, create this narrative around the Wajir that it wasn't really something about ODM just withdrawing or someone pulling this candidate out, but rather that it was part of this handshake narrative that they've been advancing over the last couple of...
I want to move away from, you know, who won and you know, the hustler influence for a moment, and just give some context with respect to Ugenya. So remember, it was David Ochieng who took the case to court, and the court agreed with him at all levels, at the High Court, at the Court of Appeal, and finally at the Supreme Court, that agreed with him, and they said that the High Court and the Court of Appeal correctly nullified the win of Charles Karan. But do note that in that election in 2017, the margin between the two was very small. In fact, Karani beat Ochieng by 347 votes. And he, you know, Ochieng was running on a movement for democratic democracy and growth. Yes. So, I mean, when you take a look at some of these issues, then you would start to wonder about, you know, the influence of ODM and whether maybe ODM really underestimated that, and this is just the thing about it.
You know, we are talking about Ugenya. I have to say this in terms of the fact that the MP-elect was just popular on the ground.
Right.
You need to admit to that, because he's the immediate former member of parliament, and the fact that he actually did bring development in that area. We can look at the fact that he built 3 colleges during his term: the Ugenya Teachers Training College, the Ugenya KMTC, and the Ugenya Vocational Training College. There's also a forestry college that is underway. He lobbied the tarmacking of the Ungunja Rwambwa Road, which had been ignored for over since 1970. He created a full scholarship program for students who had performed very well in KCP to get funding to continue their education. He actually attributed his victory to women voters. He had really empowered women and the youth groups in that area. And in fact, he said he never went out in public and directly went against Raila Odinga. He did not.
He was off media completely.
Exactly. He did his campaign chini ya maji kabisa in the issue, and he was going door to door. And he's just popular in that area because watu wamemwona anaweza kufanya hino akamchagua tena.
Francis, let me say, I mean, the rains have delayed, and I'm just waiting to see which political formation will claim credit when it starts raining. But on a more serious note, by-elections...
They said it is stuck in Tanzania.
It's stuck in Tanzania.
But have you seen January Makamba's tweet about that?
Very interesting.
Oh, really?
He wants Lupita, and
he's saying that we give Lupita so that they bring
the rain.
Wow.
My goodness.
Wow. Back to this by-elections. Looking at the history of by-elections in this country, you notice that there is actually a difference in the way by-elections are run compared to the general election itself. We notice a more sober voter during by-elections. What Jamila was illustrating about the development record of David Ochieng, that would not have been possible during a general election where you have a presidential candidate, you have a national euphoria, party first. Six-piece. It doesn't matter who it is. Yeah, just give the duty.
Suits.
Yeah, the from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Now, in by-elections, credible candidates do better, historically. They do much better. And it ended after the first term of the multi-party democracy introduced in 1992. Because between 1992 and 1997, what KANU did to tip the numbers in the House was to attract defections. Get Ford Asili, which was a joint lead opposition with Ford Kenya, to lose numbers. That's why you had, Joe, you can remind me on the defectors that left, including the Shamalas. They defected from...
And the Protest Momani,
Khaniri, yes. They all left Ford Asili to go to KANU just to tip the numbers. That was the last time voters really expressed it in a political party affiliation manner. After that, it's been about individuals, what's your development record. It's about what they really feel about those particular people.
Before we move on to that discussion, I want us to instructively look at where the defectors, quote unquote, are defecting. You take note that Professor Elmi did not go to the Jubilee headquarters to withdraw from the race. He went to Karen. You take note of the other two candidates did not go to their respective party headquarters to withdraw. They went to the Deputy President's office. And there's a soundbite that the Deputy President made when he was meeting Elmi that we are praying that the by-election, in that by-election, we will have a Jubilee candidate getting in unopposed. Very interesting scenario.
But you have to remember also that the Deputy President will have an interest in having as many MPs paying direct allegiance to him. It is the politically smart thing to do when you're facing an election. So he would be, if he's a smart politician, and many people seem to believe he is, he would be thinking about how many MPs do I have that are going to do my bidding when that time comes. And so if he's able to influence the Wajir by-election, he definitely will. If he's able to influence any other contest that will come, he's able to do that. And that is why a lot of people said that he had a hand in some of the elections that happened in Central, or the nomination and everything. He's denied all of these things, but it wouldn't be a surprise if it were true.
But you'll never forget that the turnover every election year for parliamentarians is very high. So how do you rely on parliamentarians who you're not sure they will
they'll be making all the necessary noises during the campaigns, and you probably need